Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you grabbed your coffee and you're in the mood for more content. We will be talking a lot more about the business processes behind using messaging tools or conversational tools in the next 1.5 hours. And let's the first speaker is from Media-Saturn, which is Europe's biggest retailer, I think, in technology. And what we will be focusing is not only what tools to implement or how to do conversation with the people, but we look at the process behind. As Jörg mentioned in our session before, it's about innovation within a huge company. So does that work? Do innovation processes play out for developing messaging or conversational tools? Or do we need more processes or new processes to be faster or to be more agile or whatever there is? So please welcome mentally on stage Stefan. He's head of innovation research, digital strategy and transformation at Media-Saturn Holding.
Well, hello, thank you. Thank you for having me here. And at least it's still a good morning, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. And I'm from the Media-Saturn Next, which is basically the innovation arm of Media-Saturn. And today I want to talk about how a business process of innovation is working and example-wise on conversational interfaces and conversational commerce. Because we have an international audience here, I would like to start with a page about Media-Saturn. It's the largest electronics retailer in Europe. We operate over 1,000 physical stores in 14 countries and roughly 53,000 employees, manage 6 million customer contacts per day. So this generates up to 21 billion euros, even during COVID. So that's a fine number. So in terms of customer reach or international relevance and turnover, this is a huge potential and it's a huge size. Media-Saturn is a really heavyweight player, and its size, its sheer size, is the key to success. If we think about position towards suppliers or even competition, but as always in life, there is a but. Size also means caution in operations, and this sometimes slows down certain processes. And when it comes to innovation, especially, speed is key, the ability to change directions pretty fast. And this is exactly the challenge where Media-Saturn Next comes into place. Our focus is speed and testing and evaluating promising innovation, trends, technologies, business models, whatever you can think of. And instead of discussing pros and cons, we try to execute first, gain experience, and afterwards discuss about applications. So what's next? So next is a versatile innovation hub. It's focused to quickly understand new technology and associate use cases and their relevance for our organization. We are acting as a pioneer and service provider for Media-Saturn, the whole retail group in this context. And if you want to build things, you need to organize yourself. And our basic method is a test and learn approach. So we have a research section on one hand and a project section on the other one. And there is a pretty good reason for this. And it's because first-class tech guys are usually bad project managers. And first-class project managers usually have no deep understanding about technology. So bringing both together is the key element to innovate. And the development itself is preferably carried out with our own employees from our department. But if the resources are not available, we are not slowing down. We use external resources as well. And to use external resources, Next needs to work as some sort of a traffic hub or conjunction point. We are in the center of a huge network globally seen. We talked with other retailers. We are exchanging even with our competitors, just to work on technology, just to leap forward. We are in deep contact with research institutes like the Fraunhofer's, the Max Planck's, DFKI, you name it. A lot of universities are in our network. And also we are in a constant exchange with the big players out there. So with Apple, with Google, with Facebook, with Amazon, just to get a glimpse of what they are thinking, how the future could look like. And then we have also a huge network of startups. And just to drop the numbers only on this part, the figures are pretty awesome, I believe. Every year, we deal with more than 1,200 startups. In the last year, it had been out of 28 countries. And this means our researchers work through 40,000 pages of pitch decks only. Then there's business cases and white papers and case studies as well. And in total, we're talking over 6,000 minutes in pitches and early stage interviews, not even started the project. And at the end of all these processes, we come up with about 50 proof of concepts, proof of value, or proof of technologies we realized in our organization. And we deal with technology and trending topics and business models and their responsive implementation. And each topic is assigned to one of 4 dimensions. A topic for us needs to improve either on customer experience, need to drive business operations efficiency. It should be a new business model, or it should pay off an innovation culture. And believe me, if I tell you, we already have gathered experience on practically every buzzword out there. Okay, smart dust on the Gartner hype cycle is not touched by us, but it's not of interest. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but we do it. And the most important question for a huge organization is, how can you deal with it? A corporate is typically slow. And this is because we work like a startup ourselves. First of all, we are very focused with our pilots, trying to keep pilot scopes as small and simple as possible. And we are pretty pragmatic. We're not going for having a solution, 150%, 100%. No, we're heading for the 80%. We try to find the sweet spots to learn. And also, we are not involving tons of people to do so, like typically corporates do. We only have people in our teams delivering parts of the success of a pilot, or the decision maker on some topics. But the pilot teams for one project are pretty small, less than 10 people usually. And the one most important advice I can give to any kind of innovation is slice it down, keep it small and simple. And the most important part is down on the right here. If it can't be done in 3 months, it won't be done in 6 months. That's the experience we had. And if you build all together at once, you won't get finished anything. And one freedom we have is we are not condemned to success on what we do. Instead, we are openly sharing pilot results independently if success criteria have been met or not, because it's a test and learn approach. We don't do anything wrong by learning. And from there on, we move on. So let's bring this more to practice. Let's talk about conversational interfaces. Talking to a machine had been pretty awesome when I was young. When in these days, when people were running around talking with thin air, everyone was believing they're stupid. And today it's pretty common to have a voice interface, to ask things, to talk to thin air because I have someone on a call. And it's even got usual to talk to machines. And we had already gained experience with conversational interfaces very, very early on. About 9 years ago, 9.5 years, our online shop was only for 1 year online. We already tried out different methods of filtering for products in the online shop, and we had some conversational interface with a set of guiding questions to reduce this portfolio of options to our customers. And due to the very early stage of our online shop, we had respectively few products. And in this respect, it was a bit like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. So we dropped it. And also we learned something about how people interact with interfaces. But nevertheless, we were continuously inspired by other retailers or services in the background, and we kept working on expanding our knowledge about conversational interfaces. When I rummaged through our old documents for this slide here, I realized how long we have been working on this. Most of these modules are no longer existent or have evolved significantly. Bellybutton, for example, once they had an online shop directly on their site with a pretty cool conversational interface for finding the right trousers. But from all the inspirations we got out there, we started designing how should a conversational interface look like? What's the benefit of doing it for a customer and also for us? And we identified some clear benefits and key parameters how a conversational interface should be built. And the first thing we realized when we are talking about you're not on a landing page like on a website, if you're in a chat interface, the product becomes media. And this is pretty strange from a retailer's perspective, who always tries to get in control of the environment, letting loose the environment and let this product speak for itself. Next thing we encountered was every kind of conversation needs to be hyper-personalized. It's not a not a one-size-fits-all approach. And it's all about real-time feedback in both directions. So the customers give real-time feedback to us, and we need to give real-time feedback to them. So it's not about having time to getting things solved. And one of the key elements we also find out is we are based on over 1,000 locations, so we needed to be context aware. So where is the customer, in which kind of situation is he, and how can we be helped in this kind of situation? Then also, our interfaces should have been possible to use in every situation, everywhere, and by everyone. And ideally, no additional apps are needed because you already have a set of apps in here. We talked a lot about WeChat today, and a couple of years ago, this inspired us a lot to think about app-less integrations. Also, conversational interfaces need to fit either in landscape or portrait mode, no matter what resolution, no matter what kind of device, and it should be accessible by everyone, not only for the tech nerds out there. And we also find out that one of the key goals should be if we're talking about developing conversational interfaces, we're not talking about development of software, we're talking about development of dialogues and dialogue flows. And everything needed to be tech agnostic. So like having a dialogue or conversation in some sort of liquid manner, and you can pour it into pretty much any technical vessel. Either, I don't care if it's a phone or a smart speaker or a web interface or a TV set. This brought us down to experiment with our ideas. And as I already told you, we work, keep it smart and simple, and our idea of rapid execution is the key for our success. And when designing conversational interfaces, you can't tackle the big picture all at once. if you want to innovate successfully, you have to break down the big picture into much smaller pieces, much smaller chunks, manageable parts that you can try out as quickly as possible. And the more complex your product, your organization, or your target structure is, the smaller the picture becomes. And our first idea was several years ago. We want to have a chatbot for everything. Got inspired a lot by science fiction during these days. And so we started our journey with our first conversational interface long before the current ecosystems were even developed. Our first test vehicle was a chat solution based on an IBM Watson, which ran in the app on our website. And at this time, Watson could only speak English and some basic Spanish. So our experiments ran with our colleagues in Spain due to we have no English-speaking country in our organization. And there we delivered the first chat or conversational services in our organization, and we learned a lot about what our customers really interested about. And it was pretty awesome for us because we learned it's not about having fancy dialogue out there. They have been very, very keen on getting a simple problem solved, like opening hours, like locations, like availability of products or pricing. And there we learned we need to work on the content base. It's not like having an online shop. And so we needed to put all our content products in a different form. And if you wanted to make it locally available for some sort of a conversational interface, we also needed to build some sort of a meta level of context-based communications above our products in store. And then we were equipping all of our stores with dynamic price tags in these times just to implement our pricing strategy. We believed radio network price tags came into question as a carrier for this. And also we learned we don't know a lot about our stores when it comes to the details we need for meaningful conversational commerce. Of course, we also had to learn on this as well. And it's a tough thing to digitalize a store if you don't want to lose the operational necessary flexibility. And we are still testing suitable systems for this. We are not done. We are still in the learning process. And the most promising one at the moment, just if someone is interested, is slamming by a robot. So simultaneous localization and mapping of any kind of goods and fixtures. In the meantime, we launched the Strategie project in the Netherlands to find out more about interacting with a reactive environment. And we found out that people expect human-like interaction between systems with embodied intelligence. Strategie wasn't able to deal so, and therefore we developed Paul. Paul is a cooperation together with Fraunhofer, or there's been a spin-off Mojin Robotics. And the Paul project was born a couple of years ago, which won us the Rita Award after 1 year of operations for the best customer experience. And this is how Paul looked like. Hope you can see it.
Paul, was machst du eigentlich so den ganzen Tag?
Den Menschen Produkte zeigen, Kollegen rufen, Musik spielen, Angebote suchen und mit hübschen Erdlingen sprechen.
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
I can see it in your eyes.
Saturn, so muss Technik.
So Paul, the robot, was not only running around the stores and giving some insights about products, or it was carrying customers to the products, which definitely is meant literally. So it's ran 5 kilometers per day, had knowledge about 45,000 articles in the store, and in a quarter, he generated roughly 120,000 customer interactions. So this is pretty much to do. But we learned that people fear to disturb the personal safe zone of a robot. They didn't want it to touch him, and which is pretty awesome because they don't have a problem with coming into the safe zone of a physical employee, and therefore we also integrate an interactive wall display where Paul is discussing with himself, basically. And this brought us to the next project because Paul was limited in some way because he had not always a display at hand. And we looked for Project Pepper. And Pepper was an audio-visual link between the spoken content of the robot and the imagery shown on the display and the presentation of the surrounding merchandise. And after Project Pepper was finished, we even got one more ahead and started Project Cruiser. And we used a machine as a device presenter, like a promoter. And the robot interacted with voice systems from Amazon, Google, and others to present them to our customers. So in other words, we built a machine-to-machine interface or interaction via voice, just to show our customers how voice systems simply work. It was pretty awesome. And when Cruiser got nothing to do, he was discussing with a TV set placed right next to him. It was pretty funny. And in our next case, we got rid of the poor Paul. We thought about how should be this transported in the future, and we tested or we invented Paula, an augmented reality sister of the bigger Paul. And Paula was able to steer customers through the store and show them products and discuss about it. But it was a very limited proof of concept, simply because the HoloLens was not capable of delivering a better experience. And on the other hand, we developed a whole series of skills for Google Voice Assistant. The most popular one was the bargain app. So it was like the deal of the day we've seen earlier in Otto. So it was exclusive product offers only available for smart speaker customers. And it was pretty successful during this time. And we learned you need a special hook to attach people to the smart speakers. Also, we had a quiz app that was also pretty nice. Once you've done the quiz, it was done. And also we tried a shopping assistant. Like you have been able to buy, for example, a TV, and the shopping assistant tried to steer you through the shopping process. And we already expected that it's not as easy as it initially was shown, because you might put a strawberry yogurt in your shopping trolley via voice, but you're not buying a smartphone or a television set for over €1,000 without inspecting it visually first. And all we've seen so far is not satisfying enough to go on with that at the moment. And last but not least, we developed Amy. It's a chatbot on our website, and she still got the same repertoire of questions we encountered years before. However, it's also what 80% of customers actually asks. And the one thing is about everything about conversational commerce is we are talking about an interface. And for a deeper integration, we first have to address other issues, because ultimately it comes to your back systems. And if you can't provide certain information, the chatbot can't do anything, and you cannot mimic information. And since we're currently exchanging core systems like our ERP, progress here is also slow, but you need to deal with this. And this is the nature of innovation. And now we are looking for the next pieces that we can cut up. So this was a pretty much fast way through what we did on chatbot. I haven't touched the smart shelves where we had voice activated shelves as well, and so on. But these are the key learnings we had from this one. So lessons learned. I want to share 9 lessons on innovation in a corporate environment, and they're pretty attachable to any kind of innovation process. So get started. Don't overthink the problem. Don't talk too much. Just try it out. The earlier, the better. Then it's okay not to have a perfect plan. When you don't know where to start, it's better to start somewhere and learn that it was perfect, perhaps the wrong starting point, but never to start again. And if you're not having a perfect plan, then expect to end up on some places you didn't have even thought about. Lecture number 4. When it comes to innovation in a corporate, daily business beats innovation. So even if your invention is far better, the actual business needs of the organizations are always prioritized. And this needs to be fine with you, because you are a part of this organization, but you still need to be different. If you're in innovation, you need to be the shepherd dog and not the sheeps. I already touched about speed and freedom of development, and these are the key factors to get innovation done. And also, you cannot only innovate on cool topics. You need to be a trusted guardian for every kind of technology question to your colleagues. Otherwise, they won't trust you on the most critical parts as well. And you need to hold breath for a pretty long time if you're in a corporate or in a big environment, simply because stamina is part of the game. And already introduced it like this. You need to live a natural balance between creativity on one hand and this huge, bold structure on the other hand. Otherwise, you won't get anything done because ideas come pretty cheap. Everyone got one. Innovation is not. And that's for it. Just one advice I can give to anyone: don't think out of the box. Just forget about boxes. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks a lot, Christian. Great talk. It was fantastic to see the story about how you developed that all. And I remember a couple of years ago, you had, I think it was a predecessor in your job, Chief Innovation Officer at Media-Saturn. It was Martin Wild, and he was sort of a crazy guy. And he went through the whole business and had ideas and ideas and ideas. And the whole company had a hard time to keep up that pace, and I think you're getting faster as a total company. But before I ask questions, we will have the breakout sessions in 2 or 3 minutes, and so we'll start them right now. It takes some time until the room is open, and you can then pass to the breakout sessions by the buttons that you find underneath this display. So you have to get out of full screen mode and go back in the interface, and then you can choose one of the 3 breakout session topics you like. But back to Christian. Same question to you, because it's similar, as big as a company as Otto. What is your idea about innovation processes in these days at Media-Saturn? Is it the submarine type? Is it like we have, we're prototyping in a small room or even privately in the evening, and then as soon as something works out, we will show it to our executives?
Well, this is pretty similar to Otto as well. It's the direction where innovation is coming from. I showed you Paul before, and this one, for example, was pretty easy because our former CEO just said, I want to have a customer-facing robot. And we said, it's not possible. And he said, I still want one. And so we worked on it and finally got it. But it's it's a top-down approach from this side, but most of the innovations are injected into the organization, and there's a huge misunderstanding of agile development. Agile development kills a lot of innovation, not because agile is not able to innovate, but the kind of how agile teams are measured, how they're steered, are not confronting them with radical innovation. They are improving pretty much, and it's a continuous improvement process, yes, but it's not a radical disruption of the process. Therefore, in some cases, you work with the team. In some cases, you need to do it parallel to the team, but in knowledge of the team. We're not building U-boats. Just what's the meaning of an U-boat? Because you just simply destroy relations to others if you confront them and they don't have to talk about it. And we should not forget, in these teams are the experts of the topics. We as Next cannot build up a shadow organization with all the knowledge itself. So it must be something in between, but a lot of convincement in between.
Have to be in between. It could be even more radical. You could have an open innovation approach into the whole company. I think Adobe did that a couple of years ago. They had a very strict formal process of how that works, but it was open to everyone.
Yeah.
You have that too. So can every sales guy in Hamburg launch an innovative project?
No, he cannot launch it. Or no, this is not true. You can do anything in our freedom of framework concept when you're in the right position to do so. So if someone in Hamburg got an idea and he's not finding open ears in the headquarters, either it's national or international. He needs to find someone who's some sort of a business sponsor and saying, well, yes, let's do it. And this can also be as a director of a store. So yes, there is a lot of innovation going on even outside of our Next bubble. And this is okay. And it's not even okay. It's good because we want to strengthen the innovation spirit as a whole and not only the steered innovation process in our organization part. But when it comes to the bigger ones, when we're talking about conversational commerce, for example, this cannot be run by a small team or individual person. There's too many open or loose ends who needs to be attached, and you need at least one full-time project manager on it, and you need a lot of technical guys on it, and you need a lot of business guys to work on it and for some period. This is some sort of innovation you cannot do by your own.
Okay, I understand that. Last question in that, if we take that even one step further, you're one of the companies that has the best contact to customers as possible because you're out in retail. Others of your competitors are not. So you would be able to innovate with your customers. Is there a process for bringing customer ideas into the company?
Usually we do so. In an innovation project within the Next, the voice of the customer is an important piece. We don't have we tried once in some sort of an innovation community, but people cannot think up of things they haven't experienced in. But what we learned is we can help them thinking of it. And whenever we start a project, customer experience designers are really talking to customers in the stores, show them prototypes, talk with them, discuss with them, just to find out what is their specific need and specific time and point. I give you one example. I really love it, and I hope this 1 minute is okay. When we started with Paul, we had this moment, we were not aware what people are really talking with him. And we didn't want it to simply record it and say, well, we listen to them. We mimicked. We had in 1 week we had Paul the robot steered remotely, not by the robot interface, but via remote control. And humans had been talking to other humans over the voice interface of Paul. And this was important just to learn how people perceive Paul the robot and learn how they interact with the machine. And we learned, for example, they are pretty much polite. They really are kind, even to a robot. And we learned that the kind of questions an employee is asked are pretty different from the kind of questions a robot is asked. And therefore changed our whole communication design for Paul the robot. Just to give one example.
Interesting example. It's very historical. I think we had the first chess robots working that way, and there's even in an Asterix comic there is a messenger. He's like under the desk, and you talk to him, and he runs to the next desk and tells what there is. Thanks a lot, Christian. We appreciated your talk. It was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.